This past weekend, my congressional representative, Brad Sherman, became the center of a minor online frenzy after being photographed on a plane appearing to watch adult content. The internet did what the internet does. It freeze framed, zoomed in, and circulated the images with breathless speculation. But before the scandal could fully harden, Sherman offered an explanation. He said he was simply scrolling through Elon Musk's Twitter, and anyone who spent even 3 seconds on Twitter these days knows exactly how plausible that is. Under Musk, the platform has become unfiltered and often full of adult content by default. So, no, I don't really know if this is true or not, and I don't particularly care what type of content Brad Sherman consumes, nor do I think adult content consumption is a moral failing. In fact, one of my core values is being supportive of sex workers, of sex work, and of the right of adults to create and consume consensual content without shame. I've spent years working closely with creators who monetize their content and access to themselves, including at platforms that embrace nudity as a form of empowerment or of self-expression. And moreover, as a woman who's been objectified my entire adult life, I believe deeply in bodily autonomy. And if I was so ever to choose to capitalize on my own image, I should be able to have every right to do so. While not my chosen path, sex work is work, and I refuse to shame anyone, including elected officials, for engaging with it privately. And to be even more transparent, the last 5 to 6 years of my career have been spent inside subscription-based creator economy spaces. I even served as the co-lead of Playboy's creator platform, a platform that included a wide range of adult creators, some of whom chose to share nudity as a part of their work. I've seen firsthand for many adults choosing to share their body or their sexuality is an act of empowerment, one that comes with great responsibility, boundaries, and professionalism. Those creators deserve respect for their choices and their labor, just like anyone else building a career. Well, anyone except for ICE officers, they deserve respect for the work they chose. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button because later this week, I'm bringing on a very well-known sex worker to talk about the Epstein revelations and the broader conversation around sex and exploitation. That's a perspective we almost never hear from in mainstream coverage, and it's one we need to if we're going to talk honestly about power, consent, and the systems that fail young people. But that's the key word here, consent. And to bring it back to Brad, another key word is privately. Members of Congress should consume whatever type of content that they want discreetly, not in public, and not in professional settings. Still, the truth is, whether Sherman was really watching adult content or whether he was just scrolling through Twitter's increasingly not safe for work algorithm is ultimately something we may never know. And frankly, it's irrelevant to the bigger issue here because the real problem I have with Brad Sherman has nothing to do with what he watches. It has everything to do with his leadership. I live in a district that includes Malibu, Topanga, Calabasas, parts of Beverly Hills, and Bel Air, and maybe even a sliver of Santa Monica. We are a community deeply affected by climate change, by wildfires, by environmental instability, and a shifting political landscape. But every time I've seen Brad Sherman, he has appeared disengaged, almost like literally asleep at the wheel. I once saw him just a few weeks ago at a Prop 50 event where he seemed to actually be snoozing in the crowd. I've tried contacting his office multiple times only to receive automated voice messages back from him. Never any substantive engagement. Many constituents share similar frustrations. Some people refer to him as Shameless Sherman, particularly over his stance on Israel and Palestine. He has consistently supported U.S. military assistance to Israel, including backing legislation like strengthening the Israel-U.S. Alliance Act, which allocated $3.8 billion in security aid to Israel. In March 2024, he stated that Israel has done as good of a job as can be done to avoid civilian casualties. A statement that many in our community, especially those horrified by images from Gaza, felt was dismissive and morally out of touch. As of November 8th, PBS has reported over 69,000 deaths of Palestinian people. And his unwavering support of the IDF and his refusal to acknowledge the suffering of Palestinian people is something I cannot overlook. Also on climate, the picture is similarly frustrating. Sherman touts out strong environmental rankings from mainstream organizations, yet when it comes to transformative legislation like the Fossil Fuel Free Finance Act, bills that would meaningfully address our climate emergency, he has been noticeably absent. And in a district that quite literally burns, that feels like a failure for him not to show up. So listen, at the end of the day, I am not judging Brad Sherman for whether he may or may not have been on an airplane streaming porn. I don't believe in shaming people for their sexual choices or content consumption so long as it's consenting individuals. End of sentence. My critique is about reputation, presence, and leadership. I want somebody who reflects the values of this community that I live in, somebody who shows up awake and listens and responds, and who understands that his constituents are living with the consequences of climate change every day, of housing challenges, of social tensions, and of global conflicts. So while everyone else is laughing or clutching their pearls about an airplane video, I'm thinking about something way more serious. Whether our representative is awake, asleep at the wheel, figuratively or literally, when it matters. Whether Brad Sherman watched porn on a plane is something we may never know. Again, what I do know is that my community deserves leadership that is engaged, responsive, and aligned with our values. And that's the conversation worth having. And if this video has expanded your perspective, please take a moment to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave us a comment. Let me know what you thought.